So the mic is off. I don't know. So today our next topic is get started with Django, and I create a PPT for you. The PPT will be open within a second. So just wait. Mm, yeah, slide number 9. Yeah, the PPT is opened. So first of all, we have a banner of Microsoft Learn Student West. Next, we have our topic that is get started with Django. What are the prerequisites? So there are two main prerequisites. The first one is software based. Second one is skill. In the software based, we have a Visual Studio Code, also known as VS Code, and another thing that is Git. And in the skill based, we have two things. That is, the first one is understanding of HTML and CSS, and next one is intermediate understanding of Python, including the following concept. The following concept names are, there are three following concepts. Their names are called as, the first one is package management, second one is virtual environment, third one is inheritance. Now we go for the learning objectives of this presentation. Why we start this presentation, why we choose this topic, everything. So there are four main learning objectives of this presentation. The first one is Django concept. Second one is the difference between Django and Flask. And the third one is the best types of application for Django. And the last one is how to create a simple program. So these are the four learning objectives that we discussed in our today lecture. Further, we go for the agenda. In the agenda, we have a six part. The first one is introduction. Second one is what is Django. Third one is explore basic concept in Django. Fourth one is understand path and views. And the last two are knowledge check and summary. So now we go for what is Django. So first of all, Django pronounced as a Django. I sorry, I said Django, but that is not called as a Django. That is pronounced as Django. So our today presentation is get started with Django, not Django. So it pronounced as Django. It is a free and open source framework that was first released in 2005. Next, it is designed for data-driven application where the front-end provides the user interface for a backend database. That is the definition for the Django. I again repeat you, Django is an open source framework that was released in 2005. It is designed for data-driven applications where the front-end provides the user interface for a backend database. Now we go for the application types. Django offers a complete framework solution, which means it provides everything you need to quickly create and deploy projects. And it contains four main types. The first one is machine learning, second one is e-commerce platform, third one is data analysis, fourth one is content management. These are the four application types which are deployed your project. Now we go for further Django versus Flask. So here you can see the difference between the Django and Flask. Both are open source network, and while both of these framework could suit the need of users, next Python application, there are specific functionalities and level of support that each provides. Okay, I again repeat you. While both of these framework could suit the need of your next Python application, there are specific functionalities and level of support. It means every languages have different perspectives. Like Django is a full stack framework. It is an ideal for data driven application. Third one, it is potential for more of a learning curve. Fourth one is it is out of the box security. And the last one is it has a custom HTML template engine. These are for the Django. Now we comparing with the Flask. So Django is a full stack framework, but Flask is a lightweight web framework. Django is ideal for data-driven application, but Flask is ideal for existing API services. Django is potential more of a learning curve, but Flask has a potential less of a learning curve. Django is the out-of-box security, but Flask has additional libraries needed for security. Django has a custom HTML templating engine, but Flask has a Jinja HTML templating engine. Now we go for the exercise, how to install Django. So for installing Django, creating a Django project is similar to creating any Python application. So here are four steps: installing overview. Second one is create the project folder. Third one is create and activate the virtual environment. And last one is Django installation. Last one is sorry, Django installation. Now we go for the explore the core concept in Django. So Django terminology. So it has a comparison between project versus app. So in the first we have project and app difference. In the project we have only one project. It contains a setting and apps for a site. And the third one is project are not used in other projects. With the comparison, I again repeat you, in the project we have only one project, but in the application we have many apps within the single project. In the project it contains the settings and app for a site, but in the application it has a component for a site. Project projects are not used in other projects, but in the application it can be used across multiple projects. Okay, these are all about the project and Flask. Sorry, project and app. Now we go for the more Django terminology. So it has two main things. The first one is views, and the second thing is URL mapping. In the views, it contains the view. The view contains the code necessary to respond a user request. Also, it has a order detail and product search. Next one is URL mapping, sometimes called routing in other framework, determines which view to call for a specific URL. And the last one is it implemented by using path. Now we go for another exercise, that is create your first project. So for creating your first project, now that we have explored some basic concept of Django, let's begin creating the project. So here are the steps, or you can say as the what are the points that to remember for creating your first project in the Django. For creating a project, the first one is create a project with Django admin. Next, go for explore the project structure. Third one is run the project, and the last one is create the Hello World app. Now we go for the another exercise, that is create path and views. So for creating the path and views with our app structure created, we can begin to take the steps to add our own custom code. And here are the four main things. The first one is create the view. Second one is create the route. Third one is register our URL configuration with the project. And the last one is run your first project. You can also say run your first app. And in the last we have knowledge check. But before going through the knowledge check, I again tell you what we discussed into the presentation. So the introduction part, we have a all things about the Django. So first of all, we have a definition of Django. So Django is a high-level Python web framework designed for rapid development and clean programming design. It is widely used for building scalable and secure web applications. Now we go for the what things are required for the Django. Before diving into Django, ensure you have the four main things. First one is basic knowledge of Python. Next we go for Python 3.6 or higher installed on your system. And the third one is PIP. PIP also known as Python Package Manager. Now we go for the last one, that is familiarity with web development concept like HTML, CSS, HTTP. So now we go for installing the Django. Step 1 is install Python. Step 2 is set up a virtual environment. Step 3 install. And step 4 is verify the installation. And for creating a Django project, I already tell you how to create a Django project. Before proceeding for Django project, we go for the additional topics to explore in the Django. So here are 5 additional topics that we go for the Django to explore more things. The first one is static files. Next one is database integration. Next one is database integration. Third one is authentication. Fourth one is deployment. Fifth one is REST API. These are the 5 additional topics to explore in the Django. I again repeat you with the deep meaning of these languages. I mean definition. The first one is static files. It tells us to how to serve CSS, JavaScript, and images. Next, we go for database integration. It explores using PostgreSQL or MySQL instead of SQLite. Now we go for authentication. It implements user registration and login functionality. And the fourth one is deployment. It deploys Django on platforms like Yahoo, AWS, or DigitalOcean. Now we go for the last one, that is REST API. So use Django REST framework for API development. These are all about the additional topics to cover in the Django. Now we have comprehensive guide to Django. So in the comprehensive guide to the Django, we have a it tells about what are the basic features, everything about Django. So again, I tell you, these are already covered overview. Now we go for the data. Django follows the MVT architectural pattern. MVT pattern means model view template. So before proceeding for the overview, we go for what are the types and patterns. There are 3 types of things that covered in the overview of Django architecture. The first one is model, second one is view, and the third one is template. In the model, it handled data and database scheme similar to MVC model. Next is view. It processes user requests and return responses in the combination of controller logic and view rendering. And the last one is template. It defines the presentation layer with HTML file similar to MVC view. Now we go for installing. These are covered. Installing Django are covered. Now we can also go for the anatomy of a Django project like this one. So when you create a project using Django admin, start project, my project, you will see many five things. The first one is manage.py. It command line tool. It is a command line tool for managing the project. Next we have setting.py. It helps for the core configuration like database, installed app, and middleware. And the third one is url.py. It maps URL to view. And the last two are the first one is wsgi.py. It interface for deploying the app. And the last one is apps. It helps for the individual modules for the feature like blog user. Now we have Django ORM. So ORM is a object relational mapping, and here the core are covered. Working with forms are already covered. Yeah. Now we go for the static files that is already we discussed in this lecture. So Django provides a simple way to serve static files, CSS, JavaScript images during development. And next we go for user authentication. So it has a default authentication system. Django includes built-in authentication for login, logout, and password management. Next we have DRF. DRF are also known as Django REST Framework. For installing this, we have a command name as pip install Django REST Framework. Okay. Now we have a deployment. So Django supports deployment on various platforms. So configure for the production. The first one is set debug is equal to false in setting.py. Step 2 is use a production ready database, example PostgreSQL. And the third one is configure ASGI server like Unicorn or Damfin. And what are the popular hosting platform? The first one is Heroku and second one is AWS EC2. And for the learning roadmap, I tell you after the knowledge check. But before knowledge check, we discuss. The first one is basic level. In the basic level, we have a Django project structure, URL routing, views and templates, and the third one is models and database migration. Yeah, in the that is for the basic level. Now we go for the intermediate level. It has a form handling, it has the authentication and authorization, and it has a file handling system that is static and media file. Now we go for the advanced level. So it builds APIs with Django REST framework, caching for performance and optimization, and it helps for using Celery for task queue. These are for the advanced level. And what are the resources? The resources I mentioned in this presentation. You can check it out. And these are all about the Django. I again tell you what are the mm, main thing which we are discussed and which is important for the learning perspective. So for the learning perspectives, we have a advanced topic. The advanced topic which has a main thing that is middleware. So middleware is a way to process request and response globally in a Django project. Middleware runs during the request and response processing phases. And what are the common middleware examples? The first one is we discussed, that is authentication. Here it is. Mm, the first one is authentication. Second one is security check. Third one is session management. These are all about the middleware. Now we go for the another thing, that is Django signals. So signals allow decoupled component to get notified when certain action occur. What are the common signals are? So mm, mainly for the models, it has a pre-save and post-save, and for the deletion, we have a pre-delete and post-delete, and for the login, we have a user login command. Next, we have Django testing, catching in Django, that is covered. Yeah. What are the Django main security features? So yeah, before the exercise knowledge check, I tell you the what are the Django security features. And the first feature is CSRF protection. It enabled by default using the CSRFVI middleware .add command in your forms. Next we have XSS protection. Django automatically escapes user input in template. Use save cautiously. And the last one is HTTP setting. In the HTTP setting, we have a add secure SSL redirect is equal to true to force HTTPS command for the HTTP setting. Next, we have SQL injection prevention. So Django ORM protects against SQL injection by parameterizing queries. It avoids raw SQL unless absolutely necessary. Now we go for the another thing, that is password hashing. So password, we all know passwords are very mandatory for everyone. The passwords are securely hashed using PBKDF2 by default. You can customize the algorithm in code.py using password hashes. Next thing that we have synchronous Django, also known as ASGA. So Django now support synchronous views and middleware for handling real-time features like WebSocket. Okay, and what are the Django third-party packages? So here are five main packages used for the third party. The first one is DRF, which we are covered. Second one is Django OAuth, that is for handling social authentication, Google, Facebook, etc. Next one is Django Salary. Fourth one is Django Filter, and the last one is Django Extensions. It provides additional tool like Shell Plus. So now we go for the deployment practices. These are not mainly important, but I tell you again. So there are five main best practices for the deployment in the Django. So first one is database. Second one is static files. Third one is environment variables. Fourth one is server, and the last one is error tracking. Okay, and these are resources. Yeah, everything is covered. Now it's time for the knowledge check. Yeah, so we are covered in this presentation. Here are prerequisites. Here are the learning objectives. Here are agenda. So what we are covered. We covered the definition of Django. Now we covered the application types. In the application types, we Django offers a complete framework solution, which means it provides everything you need to quickly create and deploy your project. And what are the functions which are helping? The first one is machine learning, second one is e-commerce platform, third one is data analysis, fourth one is content management. Next we go for the Django versus Flask. So in the Django we have a full stack framework, but in the Flask we have a lightweight framework. In the Django it is ideal for data driven application, but in the Flask it is ideal for existing APIs and services. Django has a potentially more of a learning curve, but Flask has a potentially less of a learning curve. Django has the out of the box security, but Flask has additional libraries needed for security. Django has a custom HTML templating engine, but Flask has a Jinja HTML templating engine. Now we uh, now we discuss some exercise. The first exercise is install Django. Yeah. So these are the how to steps for creating the Django application. The first one is installing overview. Second one is create the project. Third one is create and activate the virtual environment. And the last one is Django installation. Next we go for the core content in Django. Here again there is a difference between the project versus app. So in the project we have only one project. In the app we have many apps within the single project. In the project, it contains the setting and apps for the site, but in the application, we have a component of a larger website. In the project, we have a project are not used in other project, but in the application, it can be used across multiple projects. Now we go for another thing that is more Django terminology. So in the views, it contains the code necessary to respond to a user request. Further detail, project search, and next we go for URL mapping. Sometimes called routing in other framework determines which view to call for specific URL implemented by using path. These are covered, not so important. Next we discuss another exercise for the creating your first project. Next we discussed create path and view exercise, and last we have a knowledge check. Okay. So for the knowledge check, we have a question number one, that is, what is the command line utility automatically created in every Django project? So you can tell me the answer is manage.py. Answer number B. Question number two, what was referred to as a table of content in the Django application? So answer is URL configuration. Now we go for summary. In the summary, although there are many frameworks for the Python language, the Django framework has proven itself a world-class opponent for developing applications. These are the six things that we discussed or that's important. The first one is why Django is great for rapid deployments. Next, second one is the difference between Django and Flask. This is the main one. And third one is the types of application best for Django. The fourth one is how to install Django. And the last one is how to create a simple program. Okay. Then next we have a building data with the okay. These are the link and the presentation will be over. And our next lecture is about, I think next lecture is part two. Okay, no problem. We discussed in the team application. So these are for yeah, what is Django? Next we go for application type. Next we go for Django font size. Okay, these are covered. These are covered. These are covered. Create path and view. And we have a knowledge check. Okay, question number two are covered. Now we have, so I wait for the 1 minute for the uh, ending of this meeting, and the meeting will be end within a minute. Okay, the meeting will be end within a minute. So before ending this meeting, I want to talk to you in the LinkedIn application. You can message me in the message on LinkedIn for the other inquiries, and the PPT will be end within a minute. Okay, so thank you for joining the lecture, and we will meet in the next lecture, that is about get started with Java part 2 or other one.